So, you finally made it. I've been expecting you. Look who finally figured it out. The one who reads minds without trying, who catches lies before they're spoken, who feels the shift in energy before anyone else notices. Welcome, you beautiful psychological savant. You walking lie detector test. You breathing manipulation scanner. Let me tell you something they never wanted you to know. You weren't taught psychological warfare. You didn't take a class. You didn't read the manual. You were born with the blueprint already etched into your DNA. While they studied tactics, you lived them. While they memorized strategies, you breathed them. While they practiced manipulation, you were surviving it since childhood. They look at you confused, don't they? Wondering how you always know, how you catch their games before they even start playing, how you see through their masks like they're made of glass. They think you're paranoid. They think you're reading too much into things. But we both know the truth. You're not reading into anything. You're reading exactly what's there. The micro expressions they think they're hiding, the voice changes they believe are subtle, the energy shifts they assume are invisible. You see it all because you had to. Because somewhere in your past, reading people wasn't a skill. It was survival. Maybe it was a parent whose mood could flip like a switch. Maybe it was friends who smiled while sharpening knives. Maybe it was lovers who gaslit you until you questioned your own name. Whatever it was, it turned you into something they never expected. A human polygraph, a walking psychological weapon. Someone who doesn't need to learn the game because you invented half the rules. Let's go back to where it started. You were young, weren't you? Too young to understand why the air felt different when certain people walked in. Too young to explain why some smiles made your stomach turn. But your body knew. Your instincts were already recording data, filing patterns, building a database of human deception that would later become your superpower. You learned to read the room before you could read books. You decoded emotional temperatures before you understood Celsius or Fahrenheit. They called you sensitive. They said you were too much. They told you to stop overthinking. But you weren't overthinking. You were processing information at a level they couldn't comprehend. Every slight change in tone was data. Every avoided eye contact was evidence. Every forced laugh was a red flag your system automatically logged. You were building an encyclopedia of human behavior while they were still learning the alphabet. And then came the moments that activated you fully. The betrayals that should have broken you, but instead upgraded your software. The lies that should have destroyed your trust, but instead gave you X-ray vision for bullshit. The manipulation that should have made you weak, but instead turned you into a master decoder. Each wound wasn't just pain, it was education. Each scar wasn't just damage, it was development. You started noticing patterns they thought were invisible. The way liars always give too much detail. The way manipulators always play victim first. The way fake people's energy feels like static electricity. The way genuine souls make the air lighter. You didn't learn this from books. You learned it from bleeding. You learned it from burning. You learned it from being broken and putting yourself back together with new parts they don't sell in stores. Here's what terrifies them most about you. They can't teach what you have. They can study psychology for decades and still not possess what flows through you naturally. They can memorize every manipulation tactic and still get caught by your radar in seconds. Because what you have isn't learned, it's lived. It's carved into your nervous system by years of having to navigate psychological minefields just to survive a normal Tuesday. You walk into a room and immediately know who's lying to whom. You can feel the affairs before they're confessed. You sense the betrayals before they happen. You catch the plots while they're still being written, not because you're trying to, but because your entire being is tuned to a frequency they don't even know exists. You're not playing chess while they play checkers. You're playing a game they can't even see the board for. They think they're subtle with their games. They think their masks are convincing. They think their stories are airtight. But to you, it's like watching children try to lie about eating cookies with chocolate still on their faces. You see through their elaborate performances like they're made of tissue paper. You hear the lies in their silence. You feel the deception in their proximity. You taste the manipulation in the air like copper. And the funniest part, they have no idea how transparent they are to you. They're still convinced they're getting away with it, still certain their act is Oscar-worthy. Meanwhile, you're sitting there watching their entire psychological infrastructure collapse in real time, and you haven't even said a word yet. You don't need to interrogate. Your presence alone makes them confess through their nervousness. But let's be honest about something. This gift comes with a price, doesn't it? You can't turn it off. You can't unsee what you see. You can't unfeel what you feel. You walk through life with X-ray vision in a world full of skeletons. Everyone's trying to hide. You hear the lies in "I love you." You feel the hate in hugs. You see the agenda behind every compliment. Sometimes you wish you could be naive again. Sometimes you envy the people who believe what they're told. The ones who can accept surface-level interactions without feeling the undercurrents trying to drown them. But you can't. Your system won't let you. Every interaction runs through your internal lie detector. Every conversation gets processed by your manipulation scanner. Every relationship gets filtered through your betrayal prevention software. People think you're difficult. They say you're hard to get close to. They claim you have trust issues. But it's not trust issues when your intuition has been right every single time. It's not paranoia when they actually were talking behind your back. It's not overthinking when your gut feeling saved you from another snake in sheep's clothing. You're not broken. You're protected. Protected by an intelligence they can't understand and a wisdom they can't teach. You've probably tried to ignore it, tried to give people the benefit of the doubt, tried to silence that voice that whispers, something's off. And every single time you ignored it, you paid the price. Every time you let their words override your instincts, you got burned. So now, you don't ignore it. Now you listen. Now you trust yourself more than you trust their performances. But here's where the story gets interesting. You're not in survival mode anymore. You've graduated from defense to offense. You don't just detect psychological warfare, you conduct it without even trying. Your mere existence disrupts their programs. Your presence alone makes manipulators malfunction. Your silence speaks louder than their rehearsed speeches. You've learned to weaponize what they weaponized against you. That silence they used to punish you, you now use it to make them reveal themselves. Those mind games they played, you now play them better without even participating. That gaslighting they attempted, you now make them question their own reality just by staying steady in yours. You don't fight fire with fire. You fight fire by becoming water, flowing around their attacks, filling every space they try to create, drowning their gains in your depth. When they try to trigger you, you respond with such calm it makes them question their own sanity. When they attempt manipulation, you mirror it back so subtly they end up manipulating themselves. When they lie, you don't call them out, you just ask questions that make them tangle themselves in their own web. You've become a psychological Aikido master, using their own force against them, redirecting their energy back to its source. They can't figure out how you do it, how you always end up on top without seeming to fight, how you win wars they didn't even know you were fighting, how you dismantle their plans while appearing to do nothing. But you know the secret. You're not trying to beat them at their game. You're playing an entirely different game, one where authentic power beats performed power every time. And now others are starting to notice. The other warriors, the other survivors, the other ones born speaking this language. You recognize each other instantly. That look across the room that says, "I see you seeing them." That slight nod that communicates, "Yes, I caught that too." That silent alliance between souls who've earned their psychological black belts through combat, not classes. You find each other in crowds, drawn together by an invisible magnetism. The ones who don't flinch, the ones who don't fold, the ones whose eyes hold stories that would make therapists need therapists. You don't need to explain yourselves to each other. You don't need to prove your credentials. Your presence alone is your resume. Your survival is your certification. These are your people now. Not the ones who match your energy, the ones who recognize it, not the ones who understand your words, the ones who understand your silence, not the ones who know your story, the ones who know the weight of carrying such vision. You've found your tribe, the unbreakable ones, the ungaslightable ones, the ones who are forged in psychological warfare and came out speaking its language fluently. Together you create safe spaces, not safe from conflict, safe from deception, not safe from challenge, safe from manipulation, not safe from truth, safe from lies. You build relationships based on radical honesty because anything less feels like death to souls that have survived on breadcrumbs of truth for too long. You create connections that don't require constant validation because you validated yourselves through fire. But here's the evolution they never saw coming. You're not using your powers for destruction. You're using them for construction. You're not wielding your gifts to hurt. You're wielding them to heal. You're not employing your abilities to manipulate. You're employing them to illuminate. You've taken the weapons they forged in you and turned them into tools. You help others see what they can't see. You guide people through their own psychological warfare. You teach without teaching. You heal without claiming to be a healer. You lead without needing a title. Because leadership isn't about position when you can read the room better than anyone else in it. It's about vision. And yours is 20/20 in a world full of people wearing the wrong prescription. You've become the translator for those who don't speak the language yet, the guide for those just beginning to see, the lighthouse for ships navigating storms you've already survived. Not because you went looking for this role, but because when you've been to hell and memorized the map, you can't help but leave breadcrumbs for others finding their way out. Your trauma has become your teaching. Your wounds have become your wisdom. Your scars have become your scripture, not the kind written in books, the kind written in the way you move through the world, the way you don't flinch when others try to play games, the way you smile when they attempt manipulation, the way you remain steady when they try to shake you. You've learned things they don't teach in any psychology course, like how the most dangerous people often have the warmest smiles, how the loudest victims are often the quietest abusers, how those who claim to hate drama are usually directing it from backstage, how people tell you exactly who they are in what they accuse you of being, how projection isn't just a theory, but a daily occurrence you can now spot from miles away. You know that when someone says, "I'm not trying to start anything," but they're about to start everything. When they say, "I don't want to get involved," they're already 3 moves deep in involvement. When they claim, "I'm just being honest," they're about to be everything but. You've decoded the language beneath the language, the real conversation happening under the spoken one. You understand now that psychological warfare isn't always aggressive. Sometimes it's the withdrawal of energy. Sometimes it's the strategic confusion. Sometimes it's the calculated inconsistency designed to keep you off balance. But none of it works on you anymore. You can't be destabilized by someone playing with stable. You can't be confused by someone manufacturing chaos. You can't be thrown off balance when you've learned to dance on shifting ground. You've mastered the art of being unmovable in a world full of people trying to move you. Unshakable in a reality where everyone's trying to shake everyone. Untouchable in a game where everyone's trying to touch everyone's wounds. You don't participate in the psychological warfare anymore. You transcend it. You exist above it. You watch it like a movie you've seen 1,000 times, already knowing every plot twist. And that's where your true power lies now. In your indifference to their games. In your immunity to their tactics. In your transcendence of their level. They can't psychological warfare someone who isn't at war. They can't manipulate someone who sees the strings. They can't gaslight someone who carries their own light. They can't play mind games with someone whose mind isn't playing. You've reached a level of psychological sovereignty they didn't know existed, where their opinions don't penetrate, where their judgments don't land, where their projections bounce off like rubber bullets on armor you forged from their previous attacks. You're not fighting them. You're not even defending against them. You're simply existing at a frequency they can't reach. This is what terrifies them most. Not your ability to fight back. Your ability to not need to. Not your capacity for revenge. Your capacity for indifference. Not your skill at playing their games, your transcendence of needing games at all. You've become psychologically bulletproof, not because you built walls, because you became the bullet. When they try to trigger your trauma, they find you've already healed it. When they try to push your buttons, they discover you've rewired the whole system. When they try to find your weakness, they realize your weakness became your strength while they were still planning their attack. You're not unbreakable because you never break. You're unbreakable because you've already been broken and rebuilt yourself with better material. Now you're charting territory they don't have maps for, creating psychological technologies they don't have terms for. You're not just surviving in their world. You're building your own. With different rules, different physics, different possibilities. A world where authenticity is power, where vulnerability is strength, where truth is the only currency that matters. In your world, masks don't work, illusions don't hold, deceptions don't compute. It's like you're running different software that automatically detects and deletes bullshit. Software that has pop-up blockers for manipulation. Software that runs constant background scans for authenticity. They try to upload their viruses, but your system just laughs and quarantines their attempts. You've become the antivirus in human form, the firewall against psychological invasion, the security system that makes infiltrators nervous just by existing. Not through effort, through evolution, not through study, through survival, not through training, through transformation. You didn't learn to speak this language. You were born already fluent. They're still using translation apps while you're writing poetry in the mother tongue. People ask how you always know, how you always see it coming, how you never get fooled anymore. They want your secret. They want the formula. They want the quick fix. But there isn't one. You can't teach someone a language they haven't lived. You can't give someone instincts they haven't earned. You can't transfer wisdom that was paid for in blood. But here's the ultimate truth they'll never understand. Your power isn't in what you can see. It's in what you choose to do with that sight. You could destroy people with what you know. You could dismantle their entire psychological infrastructure with 3 well-placed observations. You could leave them questioning everything they thought they knew about themselves. But you don't. You act as if you aren't hurt, and you act as if you are enough. Because real power isn't in destruction, it's in the choice not to destroy. Real strength isn't in using your weapons, it's in keeping them sheathed. Real mastery isn't in playing the game better, it's in changing the game entirely. You're not interested in psychological warfare anymore. You're interested in psychological peace. Not the fake kind built on ignoring reality, the real kind built on accepting it. You see their games and choose not to play. You spot their manipulations and choose not to engage. You detect their lies and choose not to expose them unless necessary, because you've learned something they haven't. The best revenge isn't winning their war, it's refusing to fight it. The best response to their psychological warfare isn't better warfare, it's transcendent peace. You've become what they never expected. Someone who speaks their language but refuses to use it against them. Someone who sees their games but doesn't need to win them. Someone who understands their warfare but chooses peace instead. This isn't weakness. This is the ultimate power. The power of someone who could destroy but creates instead. Who could expose but protects instead. Who could dominate but liberates instead.